Hi, this is Leonard from Cosmic Sound, and thanks for joining us for another video review from our DJ department. Today we're looking at a new product just out from Numark, and it is this, the Numark 4TRAK. Some of you may remember our recent video review of the Numark NS6, and this is basically the same thing but tailored to Traktor. So if you're preferring to use the Traktor software over the Serato itch, then this is certainly a really good product for you. Basically what it is a MIDI controller. You can see it's pretty much exactly the same as the NS6, even down to the buttons that they put on there. You also get though this top section here, which is called the FX command console, and this is tailored specifically to Traktor's effects section, which is highly renowned. The other thing this controller does is also a standalone mixer like the NS6. So on the back you've actually got 4 pairs of RCA inputs. 2 of them can be phono preamped as well, so that you can plug turntables, CD players, MP3 players, whatever you want in there. There's also 2 mic inputs as well for anyone that wants to use a microphone with it. And just to reinforce this point, this means you don't actually have to have a computer connected to it. You can use it as a standalone mixer. You've just got switches here, which you'd switch all these to line, and then you've got a 4-channel mixer ready to go. So let's get a bit more in depth now. I'm going to show you a few things on this controller. You've got 2 primary deck sections on here. Now this is actually a 4-deck controller, so you actually have a layer button here that changes between A and C and B and D on this side. You get a light color change as well to remind you which one you're on, and that's also reinforced in the mixer section. You've got blue for A, green for C. So on each deck we've got a really nice high resolution platter. These actually feel really good. You can use them in either scratch mode or normal CDJ mode, depending how you want to go about it, but they do feel really nice. Another thing that you've got on here, which is proprietary technology of Numark, is the strip search feature. These guys were the first to do this. They came out with it on the NS7, and other manufacturers have copied it since, but really these guys brought this into being a regular feature. And what this enables you to do is to jump through to any point in the track. So very easy to get wherever you want in the track. Right below that, what we've got is the looping section. For me, this is probably a little bit clumsy. It's been taken straight off the Numark NS6, and I think Traktor's looping probably deserves a little bit of a different treatment. Traktor's looping works best probably with a push button encoder, so you can turn the loop on and off and then actually change the value of it. On here what you've got a row of buttons to half the length of the loop to double it. You've got something here to just be able to jump beats, and then 2 buttons to actually move either the position in the track, or if you have a loop enabled, it'll also move the position of the loop. Right below that we've got in and out, so for manual loop setting. Then we've got 3 buttons here that are labeled Auto, Auto 1 and Auto 4. And you'll see down the bottom here we've actually got a couple of shift states, and what these are 2-beat, 8-beat, 16-beat and 32-beat loops. To actually enable those, what you need to do is use the shift button here, and then you can press shift and create a 2-beat loop like so. You've then got the half and the double ones to actually change the length of the loop. But as I said with Traktor, it's worked for most manufacturers to actually just put a push button encoder on there. So this is a little bit different. Right below that we've got a couple of other things. You'll see on this controller all over the place there's these buttons that say assign. And what they seem to be are buttons that have been brought across from the NS6 but aren't actually mapped to any particular thing in Traktor. So it enables you to, if there's anything that you feel that has not been mapped that you want to use in the software, then you can certainly map that to any of these extra buttons and faders that are on there. Below that we've got a button here to set as the master deck for when you're actually using the sync or the effects. We have a range, so we can change the range of the pitch fader. The pitch fader itself is very, very nice quality and moves really smoothly, which is awesome. And then below that we've got a couple of pitch bend buttons if you don't want to use the jog wheel to actually push and pull the track. And we've also got 5 hot cue buttons at the very bottom here. The shift button, as I mentioned before, can be used for a number of different things. You'll see little red signs under a few of the different features, and that means you hold down the shift and then use it and it'll do something else. Finally, right below that we've got the sync button. If you want to use syncing, especially if you're going to mix 4 decks, you might want to use the sync button, and then generally just your cue and your play buttons. Just one final thing at the very bottom here, we've got a couple of buttons which can be used in the actual beat gridding of tracks, which is a pretty essential thing with Traktor. So going from there, let's have a look what's in the middle. What we've got at the very top here is kind of a master panel. So we've got a knob here for your master volume. We have a separate booth, and this corresponds to a separate output on the back. We've got a browse knob, which is pretty good. And there's a couple of buttons here to change what we want to browse for. So if I press File Tree, I can browse up and down my playlists. If I go to Songs, I'm browsing up and down the tracks within a playlist. You can also choose your favorites, which in Traktor are just along the top of the browser. To load to a deck, all you need to do is press the load button once you've found a track, and it pretty much works exactly the same for both decks that are controlled on each side. So if I want to load a track to deck A, all I do is make sure that deck A is highlighted and use the load button. If I want to load a track to deck C, I just change to deck C and I use the same button to load to that deck, which is a little bit different to some of the other controllers on the market. A couple of other things we've got up here as well. We've got another fader here, which is freely assignable. It actually isn't doing anything by default in the software. And something is largely not used in Traktor, but I think it's a really great thing that these guys have put controls on here for it, is the key feature. So we have a button here to lock the key, or to actually, in this case, enable the movement of the key. And what we can do then, once that's enabled, is actually change the pitch of the track. So if you're into a bit of key mixing, this is actually a really great feature. It means that you can match the keys of your tracks as well as the beats. It's a feature that's always been in Traktor, but no one's really used it with any of the controllers that have been brought out. So right below that, we've got 3 more buttons which can be freely assigned. You can do whatever you want with them. We've got a record button here as well, so you can record your mixes internally within the software. Another thing we've got here is the cruise function. This is really great for function or wedding DJs, and what this basically does is it takes all the tracks which are within one playlist and mixes them for you. So if you actually need to go and do something else, it's a pretty awesome feature to have in the software. So right below this panel, what we've got here are all the buttons to enable the effects banks to each deck. So we've got 2 banks that we can enable, and we can set them up on any of the decks. So right now I've just got the first bank of effects enabled on track A. I can enable the second one onto track B, but I could also have the first one on track B as well. This gives you some options with how you assign your effects. So the mixer section, as I mentioned, is completely standalone. You don't have to have it connected to a computer. We've got 3-band EQ, standard gain knob. Now you've got the 4 switches here, and what this does is switch either between incoming signal from the computer, which is the PC side. We've also got a line side as well. There's a switch on the back of the controller to change it to phono if you wanted to plug turntables in. The faders on this mixer are very nice, just like a lot of other Numark's products. They're recent mixers, and also the NS6. Faders are excellent, and you've got a really nice crossfader as well. So it's really good for a range of different styles of mixing, from your dance music right through to your hip hop. It's quite suitable for all of them. On the very top, you'll see we've got the effects section. Now this is the completely new thing that wasn't with part of the NS6. So what we've got are 4 rotaries here to control the effects section in Traktor, and 2 banks of them so that you have one on either side of your screen that you're controlling. You've got a couple of buttons here to enable or change different things within the effect, and all of course, your rotary encoders to change the parameters of your effect. You also have a mode button here, which can switch between a single effect or a group effect, which is really handy as well. And you've got your 4 filter knobs across the top. Now this is something that wasn't on the NS6. It's actually a really great feature. Traktor's, one of the best thing about Traktor is that it has all these really great effects and the filters as well. So there's knobs here for that. A button to enable the filter. Now this is actually quite an important thing as well, because it's been a criticism of some of the other controllers that have come out for Traktor, is you don't always know when the filter is turned on. Often there's no light or anything that actually tells you this, so it's quite easy to get back into a mix and still be filtering when you don't want to be. So the great thing here is you've got a light on there, so I'll know automatically if I left the filter out of position that the filter's still on, so I can turn it off before I bring the next track in. So just to go into a bit more about the effects, I mentioned the single and the group effects. Now what this means is if I'm on a single effect, what I have is only one effect running. I have 1 knob here to control the wet dry, and I've got 3 knobs to control different parameters of that effect. The first button will turn the effect on, and one will usually be reset, and then you'll have 2 other buttons that affect some part of the effect. It's different for every one. If we're in a group effect, what that then means is we have 3 different effects that are all running in series. So the first knob is still wet dry, but then we have 1 knob for the first effect, 1 for the second, and 1 for the third. And there's obviously only 1 parameter that you can affect of each one. The buttons at the bottom, rather than having just one button to turn them on, each button will correspondingly turn on the effect that's in that position. And usually this button on the left-hand side won't do anything. Just one thing I've noticed with this, the mapping is a little bit funny with this. So when you're in a single effect, it's actually this button that turns the effect on rather than that one, which is a little bit strange, but quite easy to remap if you wanted to set it up in a more logical way. So the final section is the very bottom here, and there's just a few extra controls on here for the mixer. The first thing we've got is fader start, turn that on or off, so whether you want to use that or not. We've got a crossfader curve knob, so you can set that up however you want. Fader start again for the other side. Then what we've got here are 4 switches, and these are to assign the decks to either side of the crossfader. You can have them either in left, right, or middle position, which means they're not assigned to the crossfader at all. Then we've got a headphone section where we've got a volume, and we can blend between the master and the cue, and also set up split queuing, and then 2 ports for headphones, which is always a really great feature. So just finally, let's take a look at the back. This is pretty awesome. This thing just lifts right off, so you don't have to have it on there if you're not using it. And also gives you better access to the ports on the back. So just running through them, we've got balanced outputs here on XLR, second pair on RCA, your booth, which is actually controlled by a separate knob as well. And then what we've got here are the 4 channels of inputs. So you'll see they're all on RCA. We've got 2 here that we can plug microphones into on 1/4" jack. And we've also got 2 phono line switches here. So you can plug turntables in. So we've been taking a look at the Numark 4TRAK. These guys have come out with some great products in the last couple of years, starting with the NS7, and they've really led the way in a lot of ways with the digital controller revolution. These things are built to an exacting standard. They're absolutely high quality. The faders are great. The whole thing's metal, so you can really throw it around and take it all over the place. It's an excellent quality controller, and if you're wanting to use something with Traktor, this is definitely a really good one to look at. We carry these in stock right now at both of our stores at Osborne Park in Cannington, or you can buy one online at kosmic.com.au.